scene. Hostile right off the bat. So that's what you had to deal with, huh, Lillian? I see. What happened till innocent until proven guilty? I thought a professional like you would at least stick to basic principles. Oh please, there's a limit to that. We can't have the objectively most suspicious person walk all over the scene. Objective doesn't mean what you think it means. If that's the only thing you can argue against, you admit that I have a point. Well, some information would be very much help with arguing the rest, Miss, And what makes you think I have a reason to surrender my name to you? Alright then, you want to play that way? Just giving you a chance at common decency. In truth, I, of course, already know who you are. It didn't take you too long to grasp the concept of bluffing. You shouldn't be swayed by words. In that case, I'll just have to show her some facts. I already know your name thanks to this. Press pass? Wrong one. Alright, the autopsy report. The autopsy report has her name on it. Celeste Hellinger. Is that right, Dr. Celeste Hellinger? Well, that much was easy enough to figure, I suppose. Don't make such a fuss about it. Even with a doctor title on the report, you would need to have at least some medical expertise. Okay, that's a good volume. Yet it's clear that you couldn't be an actual coroner with the police. This whole trial was set up to avoid that. Doctor or not, what gives you the authority to do forensics? You're asking me to explain myself. Quite rich. Ladies, how about we keep it civil? It's so transparent what you're trying to do. It's pointless trying to pressure me. I do have official authorization to be here. Friendship? Peace? Anyone interested? Exactly because the police can't be trusted that there are now people like me. Interesting. As it happens, I'm also perfectly allowed to be here. I'm getting tired of your objectively wrong claims. Sorry to say, but I am totally authorized to be here. My press pass. I am a member of the press with special authorization to be present at crime scenes. Who's objectively wrong now, Dr. Hellinger? You can't possibly think this gives you an excuse. Oh, and you're allowed to deny me access. Then you're no better than the police. Same cover-up, different name. Nonsense. Everyone, shut up. This security guard has a proposal. Cool it and listen. Oh, jeez, thanks for putting me on the spot like that. It's clear this head bashing won't go anywhere. Clear waste of effort if you ask me. We need some acceptable compromise. Earlier, the young madam told me to keep an eye on these two, so they don't mess with anything. You didn't say anything about just letting them look, though. It's the typical we definitely won't touch anything claim. Okay, but yours truly is going to watch them extra close to make sure they don't. As long as they don't touch stuff, it should be too bad a case of, Robert's deranged principle. My favorite crime law. Locard's exchange principle. I almost had it. Yet just by standing there, they may contaminate the probes. That much can't be helped, but they were both here near earlier, so the damage has been done. I suppose I'm forced to tolerate your presence. It's preferable to being deadlocked in a dramatic argument. Too kind. Well, we only got so much time, so the plan is simple. Investigate everything a little more seriously and get whatever info we can out of this woman. Gun! It sounds like you've taken quite a good look at my gun. It would hardly be optimal to skip the most important piece of evidence in this case. Well, how did your rifling marks test go? Results are all noted in the autopsy. Did I miss it? I don't see anything. Updated copy. Your copy is quite obviously outdated now. If you want the latest copy, feel free to ask for it. Unless you would rather ignore the objective reality of your situation. Sure, let's stay focused on the gun for a bit longer, though. Find any traces on it? Like fingerprints? Not sure why I'm asking when the answer is obvious. Not like I was wearing any gloves. If your point of concern is whether your fingerprints are on my gun, then the answer is naturally yes. Your fingerprints are all over this weapon, including those of your left index finger located specifically on the trigger. Yeah, it would have been too much to ask for those to be conveniently unrecognizable. It is my weapon, so it is what it is. Were those the only fingerprints, though? Any chance somebody else might have held it? I see why you wanted to talk about this. You are correct. Your fingerprints weren't the only ones present. Of course, you likely were already aware of that. Wait, somebody else touched the gun? Guess it's easy to forget. You were there for it, though. Though there are fingerprints of one other additional person, Mr. Nealon. And there you have it. Look whoever that is. I don't think that will quite work. This is probably the man that took the gun from me after the fact. He has that excuse to explain those at the very least. Unless that was part of his plan. Leaving subjective rebuttals aside, there are more material reasons the other subject is ruled out. First data point, his prints were not located on the trigger, unlike yours. Second point, there is the order they touched the gun in to consider. You're able to determine that as well? Of course, my analysis is very reliable in that regard. Ma'am, that is a Nintendo Switch. Mr. Nealon's prints are located above all the others. He clearly was the very last person to touch the gun. Given you were seen holding it at the scene, he therefore could not have held it before that point. And use of gloves is also ruled out considering the absence of smudge marks. Taking all those points into account, who held the gun at the time of the crime is near certain. I didn't get how you figured half of that, but I feel we should just take the L. Yeah, probably for the best. Let's take her notes and hope I understood them correctly. Gun! Did you make any progress with the autopsy? Are you positive you want to know? Miss Preston really wanted me to objectively determine whether the bullet came from your gun. Just tell me. We're gonna have to face that sooner or later regardless. Very well. Of course, Hunt indicates a way to match rifling marks. You need a second bullet to compare it to. One of my Hunt devices can internally fire a gun inserted into it. That was the shot we heard earlier, then? Correct. Can internally fire a gun inserted into it. I'm not going to question that. And the results? The bullet is a 91% match to your gun. I shouldn't be surprised by this, I guess. The noose is tightening. Still, only 91? Leaves a solid 9% chance it wasn't her gun, right? No two bullets end up as perfect copies under the microscopic scale. It's correct that in simulated tests, known matches had a similarity score of 98% on average. While 91% is notably below that, it is well above the threshold for mere coincidence. Bullets known to be from different guns have never had a match of more than 85%. It only ever got that high when we intentionally tried to create two guns with identical rifling marks. Even when we made every effort to create a fake match, it never got remotely close to 91%. The chance that these markings could be from any other gun is therefore ruled out beyond reasonable doubt. Which, of course, wouldn't even be needed here since this is not a criminal trial. Yes, just lovely. Speaking of fancy signature, is that a normal thing to do? I consider it a useful principle to sign documents personally. It may help if there is ever suspicion of compromise or forgery. Not all ink is made equal. There are differences in composition between manufacturers. In the worst case, I could analyze it to verify whether it really came from my own pen. With some lessons from certain police failures, I see. Oh? Forged autopsies? You want to give us a copy of your updated report, then? I can print you as many as you need. Oh, hey. Whee! Gunshot wound center of chest, horizontal angle of entry, damage left lung and heart, fatal damage to the latter. Small cut on tip of right index finger. Sudden cardiac arrest. Bullet lodged in subject's heart was retrieved. 94% match with the defendant's gun. Sweat present on the subject's face. Head and body enclosed, numbered among a struggle. Stomach is empty. Okay, so instantly something screamed out to me. Cut on index finger. Sudden cardiac arrest. Heavy amount of sweat. The scream's poison. That is a incredibly blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. But we also have this evidence here. Faint blood trail between the study and the main hall. Does that mean that she attacked Aurelia because she thought that Aurelia, being the snoop, was one who poisoned her? Let's hope we won't need 1,000 updates. Oh, what's this? They had a small cut on her finger? That wasn't in the first one. I only had time to focus on the obvious wounds before the trial began. I don't like speculating, but she'd like to cut herself on something while falling down. Probably something that turns the case around for you. Worth keeping in mind, though. Oh, there's a good chance this detective has been too focused on the scene and noticed. Need to make use of any potential trump card I can get my hands on. Stay here. Yeah, keep this to myself. Okay. Thoughts on this? A tuning fork made out of aluminium. The produced base frequency is 7,000 hertz, plus several overtones. Probability to be related to the case. Extremely negligible. Well, I can't deny that for now. Not the place to crush your hopes. Talk about being tone deaf. Keep doing that. I'm starting to think picking this up was a mistake. Oof! It's like we're not on the same frequency right now. I think you're in trouble. Doesn't look like a harmonious relationship. Ooh! You're trying again? This is gonna be a fever dream. I got a smile out of her. Does this happen to be your suitcase? Let's take a look. It appears to be made of polyester, possibly a composite. Plastic wheels and telescopic handle. Reduced weight was prioritized over durability. No, I have not seen this before. My equipment is portable without a suitcase. I did not bring one. I'm not sure that analysis was necessary, but I guess I got my answer. Okay, very good. I'm aware that something like this was published 4 years ago. Came up when researching this place. You've done your homework then. Thoughts? You killed someone in the study of the man you wrote an exposing article about. Statistically unlikely to happen by accident. Would you care to explain? That's neither here nor there. That's that and this is this. Really, it feels like a that's that and this is this kind of gal. Expected. You would not simply provide your motive. It appears Victoria Priston has that hypothesis, so I will not pursue that aspect. She has an idea? What'd she say? If you won't answer my queries, I won't answer yours. Well, it's probably just her jumping to quick conclusions again. Fair enough. Figured out what this key is for? No. There appears to be nothing in this study it could unlock. Corresponding keyhole has to be elsewhere. Any ideas? Point 1. It was clearly made for a lock similar to the study door. Point 2. Locks of the same make appear to be installed throughout this floor. Hypothesis, this key likely belongs to another lock in this building. Free to try this on all the doors, panels, drawers, and cabinets. What would be ideal to verify this? I lack the resources to pursue this tangential point. Don't mind if I do? Guess it's debatable how relevant it could really be. What do you think about the TV? A Monophonic CT1002, manufactured in 1978. You recognize the exact model? No knowledge is required. It's been inscribed on the unit. Oh, makes sense. Well, it's about 50 years old. Guess Lillian's description was close enough. It's unlikely to be relevant to the crime. You're permitted to take a look at it. Only a look, nothing more. Right. I will take a look then. Well, this is the supposedly very old TV. I didn't notice it the first time I was here. Not sure why you thought this could be important, really. It's like the only piece of furniture still left in here. Also, isn't it kind of weird how it's placed in the corner with no chairs actually facing it head on? Not necessarily. You can see it from the main desk. Some people like to just have a TV running in the background. The owner of the study was one of these. How would you know that? You did publish that article. It's obviously some things I looked into. Anyway, this is a cathode ray tube TV. Very old relic for sure. Probably from the 70s or so. I'd be surprised if it even still worked properly. Let's see, I don't see a remote anywhere, so... Oh, it does work. Huh, it actually turned on. Looks like it's not working properly anymore, though. All it's showing is this blue screen. Looks more as if you still didn't get the memo about not touching anything. Oh yeah, I was about to say. Oops. I think if I had to set my TV to record one of my favorite TV series today. Oh well, I'll just have to watch it on the internet later. Just to read it anyway, should be able to find it. Priorities. I'll just note down my findings. Event. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And actually telling me to suggest the culprit escape this way, I hope. Apparently this cover hasn't been removed in ages. Even if it has been, this opening is clearly too small for any adult to fit through. No, I wasn't thinking a human went through this. Think, Aurelia. Hold up, where do you want me to go here? Trained animals? Straight up aliens? Nah, a little too crazy there. The old speckled band. Try string. Oh god, of course. Don't look at me like that. It'd actually check out, right? You could pass the string through the gaps of the cover, so it didn't need to be removed. Go ahead. What would this string accomplish? Say the string was tied to the trigger of your gun and somebody pulled on it. What? When would this string puller have tied it to my trigger exactly? That, dear Aurelia, reveals the only possible culprit. Jolene Joestar. The only time that could have been done was when the guard checked your gun. It's my fault again! Don't play dumb now. Once you eliminate the impossible. We only got so much time to mess around, Lillian. Must have been one hell of a long string to go all the way up the elevator from down there. Should have at least tried for something more reasonable, like the string was attached to the real key of the room, which was then turned inside the lock and pulled out. If the real key is anything like the other key, it'd be small enough to fit through the vent gaps. Wait, sounds like something that could have actually happened. That's what theories are supposed to sound like. Anyway, all of these are ruled out by one simple issue. Dust. You. Spoil sport. In English, please. There's a clear layer of dust on this vent cover. Pretty common with anything that has a lot of airflow. With such small gaps, it'd be impossible for the string to not touch the cover in some manner, which would have undoubtedly left some traces in the dust layer. This one is still perfectly even. So we can deduce that no actual object passed through those gaps at all. Wow, you pay attention to stuff like that? Oh, remember this trick. Good. This game needs some better guard AI. And now I'm getting called an NPC. That stage just keeps getting better. I should cover the vent well enough. Pun somewhat intended. Couldn't prevent any light from coming into this room. Not that there'd be much light right now. I don't like the dark atmosphere they're creating. Why are studies like this? And they're just asking for someone to get curtain called. Don't think the curtains tempted me would fly as a justification for murder. Besides, they still need to be open in order for the metaphor to work. Well, time to get on it. I can't allow you to undo the curtains. Rest assured, there is objectively nothing of relevance behind them. Just the panes of glass you'd expect. Kinda makes me want to take a look. Woo! Want some cake? I see. So that is your approach. My approach? The brain requires sugar to function. That much is a fact. I've heard of detectives consuming sweets to enhance their mental performance. You hear this? They made me smarter. The effectiveness of this method has not been objectively verified. The body will build up insulin resistance, causing adverse effects. It may hurt your brain in the long run. Well, no need to worry about that if it's kept in moderation. Nice cope. I don't have sufficient data to assess her yet. Once we're no longer trapped in this place, I'll make sure to perform an investigation. Great! Mind sending me a copy of your report? This won't be for sale. Especially not to the main suspect. I'm right here if you want to ask me something, you know. It was a joke. You say that, but deep down, you want to learn more about me. Don't be one of those people that stalk my socials. Ask me directly. Fine. Tell me about your... Oh. Oh, that's beautiful. Alright, I'm gonna actually... This is a Lillian % speedrun. We're seeing all of the Lillian. Favorite thing. Your favorite thing. That's vague. Something must come to mind. Well, I can tell you my least favorite thing. It's getting asked fuzzy questions at crime scenes. Alright, I'll try. What's your favorite... animal? Starfish! Didn't expect that, but not too surprising the more I think about it. It's the peak of evolution, or if all the other animals missed the memo. I don't know, stuff from the sea is kinda gross. We're all stuff from the sea. We're the stars if you really think about it. Can't let her know, she'll call me basic. I'd catch the real peak. Criminal record. Your criminal record. You didn't even try, what a waste of a question. I'm the poster child of lawful living. Don't know about that one. Getting suspected isn't the same as actually being arrested. My record is clean. Unlike you, I get away with my murder. Yeah. Okay, I should have known I'm not in a position to throw these kinds of punches. I mean, fair. Your color. It's blue. I'm so shocked. Favorite book? Tough one. Maybe Death of the House of Rain? I've heard of that one. Because I told you about it, you pleb. Read it. There's no point now. You pretty much spoiled me. You're really into the one with the You're really into the ones with a questionable architecture. Your mystery doesn't take place in some weird house. What's even the point? That's why we stand Ayatsuji. Aya who? Unbelievable. You shouldn't get to call yourself a queen of crime. Good thing there's more to that than knowing every last mystery novel. Like being able to properly gather clues, not just evidence with nonsense descriptions. Besides, that's all that mattered. We'd still have Victoria. Getting so defensive. No need to try that hard to excuse your cluelessness. Are all mystery novel readers like this? Probably. You bet. Noted. What's your favorite song? You know we got the same taste. I like rock. So far, so good. Which song? I guess I vibe with Guilty Oh no. Great, another Gaviner's fangirl. The world needed that. You're popular for a reason. Couldn't believe they disbanded just when I found them. I was there when that murder made it all go downhill, you know? Of course you were. What's his brother than his friend? Poor Clavier, betrayed by so many people close to him. Hard to deny, that was rather tragic. I find him so relatable. What? There's no way it's that bad, even for you. You don't get to say that after what you pulled a couple of hours ago. So better win this trial. Don't want to give that guy any more fans. If you don't like it, tell me who it's worth listening to. Your turn. Oh no. You ever heard of Guilt Trips? Doesn't ring a bell. I like the name though. Really good. If you got a female member. Kinda reminds me of you. Might be someone relatable. I will look into that once we're out of here. Fingers crossed this one won't disband. Careful. Might actually have the power to jinx it. She is not thrilled. Alright, relationship status. Happily married. We both know that's not true. We both know that's true. You said it yourself. I'm your wife. She's my wife. I knew I would regret that. Is that just going to be the joke now? I can't believe you'd call our marriage a joke. Fine, forget I asked. Maybe I can make it go away if I ignore it. Noted. Don't note that down. I've already received this information from another witness. Are you saying that you lied to him? That's... Oof. Won't be a good look if I admit that. Just a little shy about it, don't mind her. Well, rest assured that I don't judge you and your choice of partner based on shallow data. However, I hope that there are more productive things to do than being objectively gay in my crimes. I'm just gonna save this screenshot. Good call. Let's get away from this and back to the case. All right, very good. I love this. Oh god, I love this. All right, I'm having too much fun. This is what passes as philosophy these days. Don't you try to gatekeep the queen of gatekeeping. The philosophy isn't the point. It's all about being pretentious for her. That usually means philosophers, chess metaphors, and gratuitous Latin at bare minimum. I doubt she actually gets what she's even talking about. I see. You appear to think you know her quite well. We unfortunately did attend the same university. Yes, Miss Preston has informed me of that already. According to her, your presence reflected poorly on the school's reputation. What's rich coming from someone who probably didn't even finish any degree? Given she's a lawyer now, it's probable that she did in fact graduate. Surely her performance so far supports quite the opposite. That badge was bought and you can't convince me otherwise. I'm being provided conflicting data points. Well, I have more important things to assess at the moment. Right, I've got to focus on how I am going to defend myself. Doesn't matter whatever she's a legit lawyer. If I win this, she'll get stripped of that title. Forcing a trial right at the scene. Her method aims for efficiency. I will grant her that. It's a special kind of attitude to commend your kidnapper for a job well done. Or did you know this was going to happen? You're happily going along with it. Incorrect. This is outside my estimations. Took her case because it's more productive than letting someone else contaminate the scene. Time and manpower are the major limiting factors of Miss Holden's approach. Definitely looks like you could need more of both. I will manage. Does not appear to be a complex case after all. We'll see what I'll be able to say about that. Currently, 4 people who have visited this tower have died in unusual circumstances. This is statistically unusual, and does support the notion of an unknown cause. Does not mean, however, that we have to posit the curse that Mr. Koba has been talking about. From where I stand, this building does look pretty cursed. Subjective. I will explore the thought that this turned into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Could it be that you came here to investigate this phenomenon? No comment. Be objectively ironic if you did. Ultimately, I have yet to encounter a curse that wasn't caused by humans making poor decisions. All supernatural agencies are ruled off as a matter of course. Says the girl that can stop time. I have no data to share with you about this. Mr. Guard's approach objectively cannot be called thorough. Right, here we go again. I'm not talking about the unseized weapon. You queried me about each individual piece of my equipment. I tripped the metal detector. That forced me to do my job, man. However, the notes you took were hardly adequate. The fact that you called my chromatograph a purifier shows you didn't listen. I mean, that Sounded like it summed it up pretty well enough. You won't be able to recall this if we need to refer to these notes in 1 year. It's not that like that's going to be on a test. Today should have illustrated that you cannot know that. Two kinds of people. These two seem like a match. Dan Lead, the former tenant of this building, notorious for his many crimes. According to my data, this room used to be his before he died 5 years ago. Doesn't appear to have been lived in since. There are notable layers of dust on the furniture. Sounds right. His items were the ones up for auction today. Beyond that, there's currently no evidence that ties him to this particular crime. Let's hope it stays that way. If you make use of that spray, I am going to restrain you. I wasn't planning to. Is it that bad? It's using a detergent at a crime scene. One of the fastest ways to contaminate it. The answer is yes. I hope you didn't assume otherwise. You're the one with the assumptions. This could be luminol for all you know. Then there'd be no better place to spray it. T/M/. I'm not familiar with this brand. This is objectively not luminol. If it was, I have far more reliable and less intrusive means of blood analysis available. Still, I think I've seen this spray before somewhere. Where was it? Alright, time to put that away again before she catches on. Now I really want to see what will happen if I spray it. You'll likely have one of the cleanest ways to get charged with destruction of evidence. Sounds awesome. Go, please. I'm keeping this with me while we're here. Made any progress with this knife? Surely you've checked it for prints by now. I'm sure I can do better than Lillian did with this. There were in fact some fingerprints left by the victim. Her right hand, to be precise. No surprises there. Don't let that fact give you any premature hopes. You're clearly not wounded, and there's no blood on the blade. Thought about claiming self-defense, something like that might have helped you. You say there's no blood on the blade. What about other places like the handle or the sheath? I'm sure they should have mentioned if that was the case. To be precise, there is a tiny amount of blood on the handle. Still losing out to Lillian's intuition. Oh well. Imagine it splattered there after the victim was shot in the chest and dropped it. Did you actually determine it's the victim's blood? Blood tests take time, but I was able to determine that much. Fairly unsurprising, I guess. As for the sheath, it found neither fingerprints nor blood traces on it. Wait a second. The sheath. It says Chase on there. That's your name. Oh, damn. You're right. It does. But why? Wouldn't that mean this is your knife? If you're willing to give an explanation for this, I'm all ears. It's not my knife. Never seen it before today, and certainly didn't bring it here. What do you want to hear? Well, we weren't going to claim that anyway. Fortunately for you, there's very clear evidence that the knife wasn't brought by you. You mean the lack of prints? Nonsense. Prints can be wiped. Recall the final moments of the auction. The host presented the knife to all of us. It was to be the next item to be sold after the break. That preview confirmed you didn't bring a knife on top of a gun. Not much of a break, but I'll take it. That doesn't explain why that has your name on it. Kind of too much of a coincidence, don't you think? My last name is also a common word. Maybe it's actually just part of the design. Can't fault you for not being convinced, but it's impossible for me to explain this. Wait, there's something else we need to ask about. Did you find any other odd features about that knife? And just what would you consider an odd feature? You know, like a keyhole or something. It's a knife. Where would there be a keyhole? Fair point. Something like that would be immediately apparent, I guess. What are the sheath? Did you try looking inside? Why would there be a keyhole there? Just take a look, please. We have reasons to suspect this. Well, don't need to leave things up to assumptions. So even though there's a decent chance you're wasting my... What is it? Something in there, isn't there? I did consider it a bit curious. The sheath is actually 1.4 centimeters longer than the knife. It's not a perfect fit, which leaves a small gap between the knife's tip and the bottom of the sheath. I assume you just saw something hidden in that extra space. Correct. The slip of paper was tucked away in the bottom of the sheath. Another note? Better not become a trend. What does it say? Shallow ethics insane doctor. This is... Sounds like a typical one-star review. If you have shallow ethics, poor reviews are the least of your problems. This note is likely a reference to Dr. Lee, the one who used to live in this tower. He was infamously exposed to running unethical experiments, after all. And anyone who's a part of a hitman organization can objectively be classified as unhinged. That checks out. What's the point? This doesn't tell us anything new. There's got to be a deeper meaning. It's inefficient to ponder this without context. We don't even know when this note was written. Your friend might be able to enlighten us. Looks to have given her something to think about. I was just trying to make sense of it. That's such an obvious lie. Oh damn, let my guard down. It's nothing important. I just felt like I've seen words like this before. What am I doing? How big excuses like that won't get past Lynn's intuition. Okay. Let me know if you figure something out. Did that work? No, she must have decided to let it slide. Focus. Mustn't let my guard down again. Not when it comes to the meaning of this. It's all the time and energy I'm willing to allot on this, then. A slip of paper can hardly change your current situation. She might be right about that. Still, I ought to note this down. Don't take your word for it. Better look at the door myself first. And is Victoria really trying to argue with a locked room? We should take a closer look at the door. I thought I summed it up succinctly. Once locked, it's a bit too basic for my tastes. But you were right about that, at least. The bolt on lock is extended. It gets set in the locked position. The keyhole can't be seen. The keyhole can't be seen through. It doesn't look pickable. Nor are there any traces of such an attempt. Of course it doesn't matter anymore because the door was broken. That was just obvious by the broken part of the door frame near the lock. There's some pieces of wooden splinters on the floor nearby, clearly from said frame. The wall behind the door shows signs of damage where it got hit. Plus, there is some amount of powdery debris on the floor right below. The door must have been swung open violently and crashed into the wall, making some plaster fall off. Doesn't look like the door could be removed, especially not from the outside. So what did we learn? The door was locked, like I said in the first place. But please, go spend all your time overanalyzing some dust particles. I'm sure that's going to be the key. You don't seem to understand the concept of not touching things. Move the door without thinking. Oops. Fortunately for you, I'm already done analyzing that part. You might find it worthwhile to know that I only found 3 sets of prints on the handle. I imagine that includes the victims in mine. Correct. And the victims are on top of yours, meaning she was the last to touch it. Where were your gloves, amateur? It's only proof I didn't think this would turn into a big deal. Let's be real, though. Gloves hardly would have made a difference here. But wait. You said you found prints for another person? Who's that? That would be Jonas Doe. Who's that? The guest that found you. In this room, naturally tried the handle prior to breaking the door. As a consequence, one of them has left his fingerprints. To be precise, he was the last to touch the handle after the victim and you. Unlike yours, his prints are absent from the inside handle. There was no reason to close the door behind him, after all. I imagine we'll meet this Jonas Doe sooner or later as a witness, then. For once, that is a very reasonable assumption. Alright, so to update the door with all that info, Lily in my pocket, but I'd rather be a little too thorough. Makes sense. So in my opinion, the door has been locked. Correct. The bolt is protruding. And you still haven't found the key. Correct. So what is your explanation? What is your explanation for that? I have no hypothesis. I have no hypothesis. My priority is to gather the data. You won't prompt me into stating any premature conclusions. Maybe it's not your problem, but Victoria will have to account for this somehow. Will she? I predict that data point won't be case-breaking on its own. You're not on trial for stealing a key, after all. Even if you could demonstrate that someone else locked the room, that won't overturn the points against you that are going to be presented. No way to argue that. Still, even if it doesn't clear me directly, figuring out what happened to the key might be very telling. I should stay on the lookout for it. Alright, now let's actually talk to you. A few questions, Miss Hellinger. Dr. Hellinger. If you insist, Dr. Hellinger, then could you elaborate on your job? I've never run into someone allowed to perform rogue investigations. A journalist who's not up to date. Objectively ironic. I am a detective from the Alethea group. A detective? Correct. Became one after finishing my degree. I mean, like a private detective. Technically correct. However, please don't make any of the common assumptions. Part of something much more organized than the freelance that people generally think of. Alethea, huh? What exactly is that supposed to be? In simplest terms, it's an organization of detectives. The main benefit is that members are licensed to assist with investigations like this one. Do you solve any big cases yet? I don't pay attention to whether a case is big. Which is subjective to begin with. What's much more important to focus on is the quality of your process, your method. Wouldn't that kind of be reflected in how many cases you managed to solve? Incorrect. Imagine a detective who always arrests the first person they see. They subsequently try to make all the evidence they find fit with their suspect. Such a detective would end up having not a single unsolved case. Would you consider that outcome positive? Oh, that doesn't really count as solved if your guess was wrong. And how would you know whether it's incorrect? Call another inefficient detective. They might rush to conclusions in a desire to solve the case all the same. Okay, fair. And don't theorize before you have data, as Holmes put it. In order to do that, you need methods that guarantee the most accurate, unbiased information. A detective's job is to detect. I therefore intend to optimize detection. The accuracy of the information is more important than whether it is sufficient to make an arrest. The aim shouldn't be fast conclusions, but rather an effort to gather more reliable data. So that's the philosophy of a pro. It sounded mostly like an elaborate way to say don't be stupid. The courts are starting to change for the better. It's time for our investigative methods to catch up. Take it that involves all those gadgets circled around her. Mind telling us something about those methods of yours? I'm still busy, but I suppose it's important to distribute this information. Kind of rushed for time as well, but she might let some info slip like you were talking. Oh wow, we have a lot to talk about. Alright, the trial. And? Found the real key yet? No. There don't appear to be any hidden metallic objects in this room. Ultimately, that mystery is secondary. It's a mistake for that Victoria Priesthood to even argue that point. Prime example of rushed conclusions. It should be a lesson for her to focus on what we know. Yeah, wouldn't Bank of Victoria learning any lessons from this? There should be some discord on their side after that failure. Maybe we can make use of that. Must have realized she considers herself the peak of all creation. Yeah, I'm surprised you can tolerate working with under her. You two appear to be familiar with her. More than we'd like to. She's a rich brat that lives in a mansion where she lets her servants do all the work for her. Instead of acknowledging that, she claims full credit for all they do. Eventually, one of her butlers had enough and tried to teach her a lesson. That incident ended with one of her guests dying to protect her. Then she somehow made it even worse. She would refuse to acknowledge her butler as the potential culprit. Not because she had any trust in him, mind you. He refused to even see him as someone that could have his own free will. What I've observed today might be supportive data points, but that is objectively hard to believe. She'll end up treating you the same way. Don't count on getting any credit. Any groundbreaking investigation results? Victoria will say she found those herself. Irrelevant. What? Seriously? It was inevitable from the start that this trial would be a disaster. While an interesting attempt, it is not really concerned with how it turns out. As for getting credit, desires like that are part of the reason that have led to many false indictments. I only care about my ability to do my job. That is, providing objective, accurate data. She's actually a saint? What a bunch of BS. No selfish desires at all. Only the truth matters. Yeah, right. How unsurprising you're not fond of the idea. Let me ask you a question then. Imagine a situation where you need to investigate your employer, who is obviously against it. They order you to adjust your result. If you don't, you'll get fired. Do you comply and compromise the current investigation? Well, stick to your methods at the cost of all future investigations. It's unclear to me why you want to posit such an implausible scenario. Why does it feel like Aurelia might have gone through something with her, like that with her boss? Regardless, there will be an objectively most efficient choice in any situation. I state that it is going to be reporting truthful and accurate facts. That should be expected to maximize utility if you project it on the long term. Good luck with those in the real world. What a farce. Well, this has made it clear we won't be able to make her quit this job. I feel like whenever Lillian has that expression, she's trying to get a read on Aurelia. Like, her banter is obviously extremely fun. And I support the two of them together, but, like, she knows that there is something more that Aurelia is not telling us. She's trying to parse it out on her own, since Aurelia won't tell her. And she's more than a little concerned. Something here I need some clarity on. Just what are all these devices sprawled across the floor? Oh, you mean my hunt devices? Yeah, your Nintendo Switches. They really are cutting edge, are they not? Dare I ask what hunt means? A hardly understandable new technology. On the nose? That was a joke, right? Is she capable of making jokes? Think of it as a mobile lab. Forensics usually involve collecting and sending samples for analysis. A lengthy, unreliable process. What if I could measure and analyze everything right at the scene? That's what Ayako Kuriyama asked herself too. There she goes again, throwing around unknown names. I observe you don't even know that much. Mrs. Kuriyama is a genius working at Shimura Tech. They were already specialized in analytical instruments for mechanical and industrial purposes. Spectroscopy, spectrometry, chromatography, and so on. You name it. Mrs. Kuriyama applied all that expertise to forensics and even made the devices portable. Oh, look at her. She's so proud. Okay, I got it. The gist of that, at least. She's gushing. A change in energy took me off guard. These hunt gadgets can basically check for prints and stuff, just more efficiently. They call them portable. How would you even carry all of them at once? It's true that they can check for prints. That's only scratching the surface. It can analyze the molecular makeup of any sample. Surfaces can also be scanned. When you encounter a suspicious liquid, you can determine if it's blood, water, or something else. It's infinitely more reliable and less disruptive than spraying luminol everywhere. Did you know there are certain cleaning agents that interfere with luminol detection? Let alone the fact that anything drenched in luminol would be difficult to perform the tests with. Same for fingerprint powder. Hunt makes all that obsolete. You can locate and analyze the bare prints on the surface, even their order. Order? You mean their age? Well, age might be a little difficult to be exact on, but it can recognize multiple layers of prints. Let's posit two people touch a door successively. First person's prints will be buried below those of the second person. Hunt is able to retrieve the buried print and include in what order people touch certain objects. What's capable of looking below the surface? I guess it's also how you performed your autopsy. Correct. Hunt is capable of also analyzing the interior of objects to a certain degree. Still, the human body is complex. It's a slow process if you don't know what data you're looking for. I generally rely on a database of all known substances, provided by the WHO and others. What's this one for, then? It's a 3D printer. And this one? An autonomous drone for collecting samples from hard-to-reach spots. Let's not go through everything. It's clear you like relying on machines. Naturally, machines are unbiased, unlike humans. It's the best way to avoid jumping to unwarranted conclusions. Oh, Hunt! Oh. I imagine you fully checked the study by now with those tools. So what'd you find? You make scanning an entire room sound trivial. To some degree, I still have to determine what to search for. Doesn't help that some of my devices aren't working at optimal capacity. Why's that? Did you damage them? No, they're robust enough. It's related to their dependence on EM waves. You must have noticed that your cell phones have no reception on this floor, right? Well, yeah. Otherwise someone would have called us up to the police by now. It seems like this isn't the case due to us being out of reception range. There's a certain kind of electromagnetic interference covering this entire floor. Interesting. Mrs. Holden confirmed it's a feature of this tower. She refuses to turn it off, however. This building has like a built-in jamming transmitter. Guess it makes more sense than being out of range just by going up a little. Kind of ironic with something that looks like a broadcast tower, huh? It's a narrowcast tower. But should be apparent how that does cause issues for some of my devices. As such, I'm unable to conduct my investigation at full efficiency. My condolences. Phew, there's already enough to deal with. I should ask her about specific evidence if I want to know what she managed to figure out. Lathia. You must have noticed that the faith in the police is at an all-time low. That's the general impression I got. Bad police interactions get all the clicks nowadays. Well, there are several reasons for it. A major factor is their track record with false convictions. The dark age of the law. It's been ignored for a while, maybe because the focus was on the courts being just as terrible. Now that a few competent lawyers have lifted us out of the dark age of the law, there we go. It's on full display. Dark age of the law. Always count on the media to get stupid names to catch on. That's what led to the proposition that is Aletheia. A non-profit organization that aims to improve the quality of detective work. Their aim is to make competent private detectives work for them as associates, then have them serve as consultants on real investigations. Why did I get the memo that they're just a straight-up detective corporation? You should try signing up. Pass. Well, they have enough applicants as is, so they try not to advertise their existence too much. After all, a truly competent detective should be able to track them down regardless. Needless to say, the vetting process is adequately rigorous. Furthermore, the detectives are ranked internally with incentives to improve performance. Top 100 detectives receive a special title as well as several benefits. Titles? If there's something to honor their investigation method. For example, there's a certain detective who never manages to make any deductions himself. However, team him up with anybody and they will somehow always manage to solve the case. Hence his title, the Assistant Detective. What's your title? I don't rank that high and objectively don't care for it. Oh, I get it. Seeing how you're relying on all these devices. You're scared that they'll name you Inspector Gadget. It doesn't matter. The methods are effective, who cares about what they call it? What a funny little system. So much for selfless, agenda-free detectives. People end up treating serious detective work as some sort of competition. To incentivize the same kind of behavior you're pointing out as problematic with the police. You understand nothing. There are internal review systems to make sure you can't just rush a case. No system is perfect, of course. Don't you estimate it could be an improvement to our overleaving things to the state? Oh, definitely. Definitely not. This is opening a whole new can of worms. I'm really surprised they allowed this to go forward in any capacity. There's some resistance to the idea, of course, especially here in the US. Yet being overwhelmed with crime as they are, some states have finally allowed some of it. Time will tell of how we come. Can't stop the detective apocalypse, Aurelia. Just give in. Not like this. I want to cry. That's as much time I'll explain. I'll waste explaining my background to you. Best to focus back on the investigation. The entire floor is basically just one thick red carpet. Under the rather dim lighting, this makes it rather hard to make out some things on it. Except the whole place could be covered with blood and we wouldn't be able to tell. If I were in the killing business, that's definitely the color I'd choose for my floor. Yeah, decent chances this is no coincidence. Still, ever thought about how we evaluate things too much by how useful they'd be in a murder? Pretty sure that's just you and your brain on mystery novels. What if back in the day, people claimed those made you violent, like they did with video games, right? Well, at least mystery novels would be self-aware about it. A suspect with a bookshelf full of detective stories always turns out to be the culprit. Is that how you're guessing the culprit? Nah, depending on the author, the meta is different. I feel you always need to watch out for the unnecessary thing they include. For example, someone surviving an attempt on their life. If they aren't going to die, why include that at all? Guess that would work here, since I'm guilty. So you take these anywhere you go? If they're portable, that sounds like a hassle. Not incorrect. However, the efficiency outweighs the effort. Usually I only go on trips when I intend to look into a case. Makes sense to have them available in those instances. And at this point, it has become a habit to take them everywhere. Today's course of events clearly justifies my choice. That's gotta be an outlier. Detectives gotta always be prepared. Makes sense to me. If they ran into as many weird incidents as you, they clearly should. Not sure what else we haven't seen yet. I guess let's go back. Oh no. She is here. I hate to say this, but it looks like time's almost up. They're getting ready to resume. She is here. Okay. This is the point to save and come back next time. Until then.